I often hate the thought of spending 10 more years in this job that I'm doing right now. And I let that thought go because I have no idea what I would do if I wasn't doing this. If you're that person that has often thought about that, you're not alone. I did that many, many times in my life, corporate life of 28 years. And so you're someone like I was, executing on strategy, running big revenue items, sometimes running divisions, sometimes to save cost. Whatever the big decisions are that you do, you feel important in the process. But there comes a time when something that triggers this thought that, oh my God, can I spend another 10 years doing this? Because you become an expert at doing what you do, people count on you, and then the next thing is, well, I'm like an automaton. I'm just keep doing this on autopilot. And that's what we call a hamster wheel. But then, it pays the bills, keeps you comfortable. And then that thought passes, that trigger goes away, and you're on to the next thing. My name is Raju Panjwani, and I spent 18 years at Morgan Stanley on Wall Street. And prior to that, several other jobs. So 28 years in corporate life. For the past 20, I've been an entrepreneur, and I've coached many leaders throughout these years. And I know this stays with a lot of us, because when you're getting into your 40s and 50s, you spend 20 years doing sort of different things in a company, or maybe the same company. You just become sort of an expert, and then you kind of identify yourself with just that. Okay. And even though a thought comes that, can I do this for another 10 years? But I have no idea what I would do otherwise. So then let the thought pass, and you keep moving on. So that's what we do. If you're in that mode, this is a video that's going to be important for you, because I'm going to debug at least 5 limiting beliefs. There are many more. We all have lots of limiting beliefs, but 5 that I've identified that seems to work in the last 8 or 10 years that I've been coaching hundreds of leaders. They fall into these categories. And with each of these 5, I'm going to give you what they are, why they are, and perhaps how to either let go of them or just sort of loosen them up a little bit, so that you may need to rethink why you believe what you believe. Okay? So let's start with number 1. I believe a new situation will fix it. So if you get to a point where, you've done this job for 15, 20 years, or maybe, as I said, with other companies, but total of, you're in your mid 40s and maybe 50, and things happen in our lives during that time that are causing you to rethink what you're doing. But then you stay where you are because, you don't know what else you'll be doing. Like, I quit my job several times, made a resignation, and then did not follow through with it because I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I kept doing what I was doing because the comfort of the paycheck, was pretty good. So let's take a look at this. A new situation will change my life. So I had a client about 1.5 years ago who said he was very unhappy for the last 4 of his, let's call it 8 years, at this company that he was with at. And like most people would do, is look for a job. 4 months later, he was back in touch with me, and he says, hey, Raju, that feeling of when I left the previous job is kind of back. So can we spend some time figuring out why that is? Well, I told him before he left, but also now, but the problem isn't the job, but the problem is it's you. And what that means is that you basically take yourself in this suitcase, clearing out your stuff from the office, from one job to another. You can move to another city, another country, because you're thinking that you're not going to have this thing that you had here over there. And the truth is, if you haven't addressed some of the limiting beliefs, this belief being that, if I change something, something will change, is just not the way to address it, because you need to address something with you first. So here's what happens when you change everything on the outside, but nothing on the inside. Whatever you think you were afraid of in this situation. And so you carry yourself with you. So how do you let go of this? And how do you kind of look at your belief in a way that makes you want to say, hey, I don't want to have to change 4 jobs in 7 years, like this in this one case that happened. So before you change your situation the next time, whatever that situation is, It's either the job or some other dissatisfaction. You feel, I can't do this anymore, but I have no choice. Think about this. Changing your circumstances is the easy part. Changing how you show up in any circumstances is the real work. So before you go off changing something, spend some time figuring out what is changing. Is it the circumstance, or is it changing how you show up in a circumstance? Think about that. Let's talk to belief number 2. When I get the next thing, I'll be happy. Well, I have said this before in some of my other videos. This is the when-then disease. When this happens, then I'll do this. When that happens, I will do that. When I make $1 million, I will be ready to spend some time on my hobbies. Well, that day never comes, my friend. When you make a number or you think you have extra free time, you'll think about yourself or think about doing these things. It actually is a mirage. You're chasing something that doesn't exist. So I watched a lady, she was a former client of mine. She chased this kind of when-then for many, many years. She told me the first thing she decided was to think about this later on, whatever it was, when she was 40, I believe. And 6 years later, she's 46, and we're still talking about, when this happens, I'll do this. Hey, how did you make out with that situation you talked about 6 years ago? Well, I'm still there. I make a little bit more money, and I got promoted and I have a bigger job. But what about that feeling? Well, that still returns from time to time because I really, it's just that I felt like I wasn't really going to find something better, so I just stuck with it, and that's what keeps happening to all of us at times when there is this dissatisfaction, but you don't address it. That dissatisfaction is telling you something, but we tend to not address the issue. It doesn't last that long, no matter what number you put on it. It feels good and you're on to the next thing. And then another chase, another dream, another goal that you then ignore what is actually bugging you inside of you. But let's figure out how to release it. How do we let go of this belief that we have? You notice that the later has been the plan for a long time, that you'll do this later. And the next urgent thing then takes over your present moment. In order to let go or just sort of look at this belief, give one honest question a real deadline. Maybe it's this week. What's the question? Before I address this next thing at work, let me address this one question that I have. Why am I unhappy? Not what you're going to do about it, but why am I unhappy? Or fill in the blank. What is it that you're waiting for? So it's the question. The way to question any belief is raise questions. Number 3, I have come too long for me to change direction now. So I'm just comfortable staying where I am. What does that mean? You basically, what I call this is a sunk cost belief. I know this for a fact for me, okay? You spend 20 years in a job or 25 years in a career that I wanted to be a doctor, but I'm an accountant and I did this other thing and I kept doing it. I kept investing my present moments in a career that I wasn't really in sync with. And what ends up happening is that in your 40s and in the midlife, you've invested so much time and energy in that particular career that it seems stupid to make a change now because, it's done. Why am I going to find something new now and waste more time to learn a new skill perhaps, or get into something else that I really am not that comfortable with? So you see, it's about that belief that I'm okay where I am and I have come too far to change direction now. So that's the third belief. So I'll tell you, when I thought of leaving Wall Street to build something on my own, the years that I already invested, let's call it almost 28, 30 years in a corporate career, was strong enough to make me stay. And on top of that, walking away from this big job, what the society thinks is a big job, to start something on my own, you're out of your mind because it'll never work. And you've heard this. If you ever try to make even a change in a career, in a job, to go to a bigger job. So how do you loosen the grip of that belief on you? The grip that I've invested way too much time to now go back to make a change. Stop asking what you would lose by making a change and ask instead what it's costing you if you stayed. Now listen, I've said this before. I'm not asking you to quit your job. I'm always saying, from time to time, look at where you are, and is your belief real or imagined? So this exercise of examining your belief, in belief number 3, is what is it costing you to stay? And this is something I had to really do some deep dives for 2 years before I left my job. Put a real number, and a real number in terms of value, not what it costs you in money, no, but energy, time with family, your health, the relationships that are running in the background. You think you're going to get to them at some point. Most people have never done that math even once. The cost of not doing something. And once you figure that out, you put a value on it, which is not measured in terms of money, you may have a different belief system tomorrow about the fact that this is a sunk cost, so why am I going to go make a change? That dissatisfaction that you're feeling, if you are at all, that's what I call divine dissatisfaction. It's coming within you to help you address the discomfort. And you want to be uncomfortable for that moment because it's what's being placed in you to say, hey, this is your time, not to move on, but to address something deeper. And there's what these beliefs are, deeper beliefs about something that you're not addressing. And instead we put a blind eye on it and we move on to the next thing. So be careful how to address this, but this is one you can address if you're honest with yourself. Belief number 4, this is just who I am. This is just the way it is. I call that not only resignation, but I think I read this in a book, The Body Keeps the Score. And there's a concept of learned helplessness. I love the idea that the author came up with because we have been programmed and therefore we learn this. So this is just who I am, is this belief needs a real close look. Being resigned to this or learning helplessness is not something that's going to help you in the long run as you get older, beyond the 40s or whatever, as I said, the number might be for you in terms of age. Somewhere along the way, your doing becomes your identity. And the system has rewarded you for all these decades to get you to do what you do, and you become identified with that career. The trouble is that an identity built at 30, for example, can become a cage, really a cage by the age of 50. And that's most of us who went through the change in the 40s and the 50s and did something about it, like I did. I left at 49, my job, to start my entrepreneurship journey, and it's now 20 years into it. That cage was real for me because that's what I felt. And it wasn't like I wasn't learning anything, but it was just like that, the stifling feeling of just not being able to do something beyond what you were boxed in to do by this job was really self-betrayal of sorts. How does it loosen this grip that it has on you, this belief? You need to separate what you do from who you are. That's the first part of the exercise. You're not a finance person, an operations person, salesperson, trader, whatever your title is, or whatever you do. But who are you is the question. I've said this many times before. So this is the way you shake your beliefs for a second and say, okay, is this something that I still believe in? Well, then go on about your merry business. You're a person who has done those things and who is allowed to become what may be what's next for you, but you're not allowing it to be because of this belief. Describe the old identity in the past tense for about a week. This week coming up, this is who I was. And see what opens up for you. If you write every day about who I was, the old identity, assuming that you say that's old because you're allowed to move into something new. And again, as I said, I'm not asking you to quit your job, but I'm saying that letting go of the identity helps you to move with what's happening inside of you, rather than being limited by a belief that you're holding on to so tightly. Last, and number 5, wanting more makes me ungrateful. My God, if you're from India, for example, where I was from, that wanting more feels so selfish and it feels so ungrateful because, quietly it creeps up on you that if I want more, I'm not a good person. Wanting more seems selfish. Wanting more better, wanting more something else, seems to be a problem in society. Forget that. The fact that you want more, you're going to want anything. The desire is already in you as long as you're alive. Struggle is only a problem when you're alive. Life is a struggle, a lot of people say. What is a struggle if you choose to struggle? But life is not going to be just a bed of roses all day. It's going to throw stuff at you. So your job as a person who's alive is to desire more, either to get out of something or to desire more, to be better. That's the seed of growth that we all have as human beings until we're dead. So until you're alive, or until you're dead rather, I should say, you have a strong life. If you've arrived at wherever you are at this stage of life, people would trade places with you in a second. Some part of it feels wrong that I have a desire to be more, but a voice is also telling you to stop complaining. Be grateful, be thankful. Listen, gratitude is a real beautiful thing, and it's worth having. You should be grateful. But the trouble is, you can be so deeply grateful for what you have, and you still know that the way that you're living doesn't serve you in the way you think it serves you. You get this dissatisfaction. But both are true, and both happen at the same time. And that is life. It's going to trouble you. And the fact that it happens at the same time creates this conflict. I'm grateful, I'm okay, but I'm also selfish. It's all good. It's all together. Thank the life that you've built thus far, clearly, and then tell it the truth about what needs to change. Because one does not cancel out the other. It's like when I was a younger kid, I moved 7 or 8 schools and went to 7 or 8 cities because my dad was transferred every year. And this belief that there's nothing I can feel different or change, it's just the way it is, this belief we're talking about. And that wanting more is ungrateful. I always thought I'm going to lose my friends in this school, and who knows what's going to come next. As I look back, that's what made me so resilient, because it wasn't like I was losing friends, but I was gaining more exposure to new ones, new possibilities. And so it's uncomfortable. The moves are uncomfortable, but it's the only way out. So what do you do to loosen the grip of this thing, this belief system? Because it's the fear that stops. It makes you softer or less effective. It's just not the case. The fear is that this work makes you softer or less effective. In fact, the opposite is true. Every leader I've watched face these beliefs honestly, if they're being honest with themselves, they become more present, more decisive, far clearer about where they were putting their energy and why. Their teams were feeling it, their families feel it because their energy shifts inside of them. They did not become less, they became more because they were more aware. So it's okay to choose to be wanting more, but wanting more also comes from getting in touch with yourself. They become free to choose. Maybe for the first time ever, they were young enough to dream without some kind of a liability attached to this dream. So be grateful, but it's okay to desire more. And again, I believe in the power of writing. So let gratitude and honesty sit at the same table or same situation at the same time. Because, as I said, the life that you built, tell it the truth. What you've built, you're grateful for, but what's going to change as well going forward. So shake that belief, my friend. So here's your work. So we've done the 5 beliefs, and we can summarize those just to be clear here. Number 1 was a new situation will fix this. And the truth often is that's not the case. Number 2, when I reach that, then I will do that. I'll be happy. 3, I've come too far now to change direction, which is, as I call, the sunk cost belief. And number 4, this is just who I am. That's learned helplessness. And lastly, wanting more makes me ungrateful and selfish. So, starting today, pick one of these. Maybe you have one of these, 2 of these, but just pick one of these 5 beliefs if you have one of them on your list that made you a little uncomfortable listening to or watching this video, the way I described it. So that discomfort is your signal to do something about it. That is the one running your life right now. Then ask the only question that breaks any of them. I gave you some clues as to how to loosen it. And just say, is this actually true? Or is it just familiar? And so the various ways you can break that, you can go back and watch this video. For each of these, there's a little tool or a little question you can use to get to figure out whether this belief that you have is actually true. If you want help seeing which belief is steering your ship, my friend, take the Career Crossroads Quiz. No matter how senior you are, this Career Crossroads is not just about changing jobs, it's about where you are in your career. Take that test. It'll show you what kind of crossroads you're really at. It gives you a little bit of evaluation and what it means and what kind of thing or belief is actually stopping you. So thank me later. My name is Raju Panjwani, and I'll see you in the next video.